Did you know that Islam protects the five necessities in life? And here's how your health fits into this. So, one of the five necessities that Islam came to preserve is very simple. The first one is the religion, that we should worship Allah alone and not put any partners by his side. And you can see this all over the hadith and the Quran, how Allah tells us about this. One very beautiful ayah can be found in Surah Taha, where Allah says, "Whoever turns away from my remembrance will have a miserable life. And on the day of resurrection, the day of judgment, when you're going to stand in front of Allah, he will be resurrected as a blind person." And may Allah protect us from this. And subhanAllah, when I read this, I thought about, back in Sweden, where I'm from, and before I was a Muslim, I already then could see, and bear in mind, I was an atheist back then. I didn't believe in God or anything, but I could see the difference between my Muslim friends that I had, the people who worshipped Allah and the people who didn't care about worshiping Allah, who went out partying and went out drinking. They were miserable, like me. But the other Muslims that actually took, tried to take care of their religion, tried to pray on time and stuff, somehow they were different. They had this tranquility. They didn't really seem to, whatever happened in their life didn't seem to bother them. So that's one very powerful thing that actually made me want to become a Muslim, because I saw, after researching all the different religions and ideologies out there, I saw that Islam had something special. It actually had a framework that you can use in your whole life, no matter if you are a man, if you're a woman, if you are poor, if you're rich, if you're strong, if you're weak. There's always this same framework to follow. And it helps you to put practical steps in front of you, so you know that you don't have to make guesswork. What is this right? Is this wrong? Where should I go? The guidance is there. The direction is there. And when you have Iman and you true Iman, you know that whatever happens is going to be good for you. If something seems to be bad, like I lose my job or something like that. Actually, on that note, subhanAllah, I remember before I even came to Dubai and my wife was pregnant with our first child back then. SubhanAllah, this story was so crazy. And it really emphasized this tawakkul we need to have. This was back a few years ago when I was working in Sweden and I had my job and everything was kind of, it was chill. But as you know, living in the West as a Muslim is kind of always a battle, because you need to fight against your nafs and against this fitna that exists there. And then my wife and I decided to go on a honeymoon, because when we got married, that was the same year when, the pandemic started and you couldn't go in. But then during our first year in marriage, suddenly you were able to travel to Dubai. And we went there for a honeymoon and, we really loved the country. It was amazing. It was clean. You could pray in the mosque. It was amazing, right? And then when I came back to Sweden, back to my old job, I found out that I lost my job. They fired me, because of the pandemic, the effects and everything. And I was heartbroken, guys. I was scared because now I had my wife. We were expecting our first child. I didn't have a job and it was very hard to find a job back then. I didn't have, proper education. I didn't go to university or anything. I wasted my teenage years going on a music school. It doesn't really help you when you want to be a good Muslim, right? And subhanAllah, during the trip when we were in Dubai, I told my wife, let's make dua so that we can move to a Muslim country like this, beautiful and everything. Just a few weeks after I lost my job, I got a phone call from a friend. And, long story short, I got accepted into a university here in Dubai to do my Islamic studies, which, I couldn't even believe it. And this really emphasized on the tawakkul we need to have. Sometimes we forget that Allah is always watching us and always helping us, and he's going to provide for us. Our rizq, our provision and everything we're going to get, the blessing, it's already written. It's going to happen. No matter, we cannot, it's going to come to us, right? So that's the first necessity that Islam came to preserve, the religion. And I want to really emphasize on this one, because it doesn't matter whoever you are and wherever you are, you need to take this seriously, right? As a Muslim. And the second thing Islam came to protect or preserve is the intellect. And that's why we can see drugs and alcohol being haram. You're not allowed to do this. And another point I was thinking about, not these obvious intoxicants, very, very bad for your intellect, but what about social media? What about sitting and scrolling all day? If something is taking your time away from you worshiping Allah, away from living up to your full potential, did you know that thing becomes haram for you, because you are neglecting the obligations Allah, put on you to do something that's just wasting time. And social media is one of the most, one of those things that really waste our times. And I heard, subhanAllah, I heard a guy one day, he talked about, TikTok, and he said, oh, do you know why they named TikTok? Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but it made me think, he said, Well, when you're scrolling on TikTok, on these social media, your time is tick-tocking away. So you can scroll and then suddenly, an hour just passed and it felt like 5 minutes. This is really dangerous because the time we have is limited and we're wasting it on, just making ourselves more dumber and distracted and forgetting about Allah, right? So really, really important. But that's the second thing, right? To protect our intellect, to protect our minds. The third thing Islam came to protect is our wealth. So that's why gambling is forbidden. That's why riba, interest is forbidden and haram. And subhanAllah, one thing I, thought about when I thought about wealth is on the other side, like, okay, even if you don't gamble and, don't participate in interest, alhamdulillah, that's good. You're staying away from something that's haram. So another side of this I was thinking about is how much we neglect in spending on ourselves, spending on our family, paying sadaqah, charity. Because on the other side, like even though it's not like haram not to do it, we forget that everything is from Allah. The provision, everything we get is from Allah. And as Allah said, if you are thankful, we will increase. In shakartum la'azidannakum, right? So this means that if we are thankful by, sharing whatever we got from Allah, the bounties, the blessings, in terms of spending on our family, spending on ourselves, make sure that we improve ourselves. We grow as Muslims, right? For example, if you're not able to read the Quran yet, well, go and take some money, go to a Quran teacher and learn, right? There's so many tools today and you don't have to be a millionaire to do this, right? So what's your excuse? Why are you putting these things off? Why? Because Islam didn't only come to protect the wealth, but for you to use the wealth to get closer to Allah. It makes sense because all of that wealth, Allah was the one giving it to you, not your boss, not your business. It's from Allah at the end of the day. We should return that with gratitude by getting closer to Him. So whether or not it's about learning Quran, Tajweed, learning Arabic, getting in shape, going to a fitness coach, whatever, because these things is something, it's an amanah from Allah. So taking care of that would be worship, right? Now, the fourth necessity that Islam came to protect is families. Islam puts a lot of emphasis on marriages, lineage, protecting that sacred bond we have between the husband and wife and the family and the children. And that's also why fornication and adultery is haram, zina is haram, and all of the things that leads to this. And another thing I was thinking about when I read this is, protecting your family is not only staying away from zina. That should be very obvious. The other thing is like, how do you take care of your family? Are you being that role model for your kids? I see a lot of Muslim parents in the West not really taking this seriously. We have our Muslim children growing up in the West, all the things they teach that is anti-Islam and anti the values we have in Islam. And it's not like a big of a deal for them. Like, okay, so as long as we feed them, we buy them nice clothes, all good, right? No, it's not all good. I grew up with these Muslims, and that was another time. Like today's even crazier. But when I was younger, the only thing they really cared about was not eating pork. That's it, But they went out partying, they went doing crazy stuff. Why? Because they didn't have those role models, right? And often enough, which is very sad, often those people I saw that were, dealing in criminal activities from where I was from, many of them were Muslims, like came from Muslim backgrounds. And that's really sad because that's so, against Islam. It's so opposite. But I understand we're not being the role models all children needs. And we are responsible for that. We are going to be held accountable what we taught our kids or never taught them, right? So take care of your families, being that role model, whether it's like praying on time, obviously, reading Quran, show them like what a good Muslim is, and take care of your health. Really, really important. And the last thing, the fifth thing that Islam came to preserve is the life and the soul. So that's why killing innocent people is haram and suicide is haram. And what's really interesting, like all of these five, if you look at the religion, the intellect, the wealth, the families, and life, there is a capital punishment for anyone who tries to destroy this, which shows why it's so important. Because if you look at the societies that fail, that gets destroyed, you can see and look at these five necessities, it comes from this. And everything starts in the family. Really, like the foundation of a society it starts with the family. The father, the mother, are they being good role models, the father figure, the mother figure, and the children, are they teaching them good, or are the children getting corrupted? Because these children are going to be the next generation and going to be members of society, and that society is going to reflect on how the members are, right? So if we're not, prioritizing taking care of our fitness, our health, our mindset, mental health, and our religion, what's going to happen? Obviously, it's going to affect the society. And I really wanted to make this video, honestly, as a reminder for me, because I really liked reading about this, but also sharing this. At the end of the day, we need to take action. We need to stay accountable and take responsibility of our lives. Stop complaining. Stop blaming everyone else except ourselves. Times are hard. Like sometimes it is difficult, but all we need to do today is to focus on the right things and do it consistently. And that's why, I really love the idea of taking care of your fitness and faith. Because if you have these two things, if you're strong in your body, and when I talk about fitness, I'm not talking about, being strong, having strong biceps. I'm also talking about mental strength, the mindset you have. Because I notice often, what stops me sometimes is the limits I have in my mind, the mindset, the mental health that stops me. So becoming strong in your fitness, becoming mentally fit, physically fit is really, really important. And also taking care of our faith, it's like striving and trying to excel in being good Muslim, taking care of our prayer on time, praying the masjid, doing our adhkar, constantly reading Quran. These are basics, basic things. So those are the 5 necessities. Hopefully this video was beneficial. If you liked it, subscribe. More content like this, inshallah, about fitness and faith, how to protect our deen and protect our health. And yeah, see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.